Trump said something in a cabinet meeting this week that nobody is talking about. He said Iran is negotiating on fumes. That phrase tells you everything about where this deal stands right now. Iran has been fighting a war over 3 months. Its economy is under maximum sanctions pressure. Its oil cannot leave its ports, its currency has collapsed, it has been bombed repeatedly. And yet, Iran is still holding on, still demanding control of Strait, still refusing Trump's uranium terms, still managing to not a deal. Today, I'm going to tell you what is actually happening in the Strait of Hormuz right now because it is so far more complicated than the simple deal or no deal story. And I am going to explain what negotiating on Flume actually means for your oil market this week. What is actually happening in the Strait of Hormuz right now? The Strait of Hormuz crisis began on February 28, 2026, the day the US and Israel launched a strike on Iran and assassinated Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Israel retaliated by closing the Strait of Hormuz and laying sea mines. And this is important because it has changed significantly in the last 2 weeks. According to Fortune's real time oil coverage from June 2, the Strait of Hormuz is now splitting into two distinct lanes, a US lane and an Iranian lane. Ships that want to cross under US Navy escort use one route. Ships that want to coordinate with the Iran's IRGC Navy use a different route. This is not a free and open strait. This is a divided waterway with two complicated authorities telling ships which lane they must use. The US says the strait is international waters and no tolls should be charged. Iran says it has the right to manage the waterway and that any mechanism concerning the strait should be agreed between Iran, Oman, and the countries bothering it, not the United States. Since the crisis has begun, the damage has been significant. At least 17 merchant ships have been damaged, 7 have been abandoned, 2 have been captured by Iran, and Iran formed a brand new government agency, the Persian Gulf Strait Authority, specially to manage and control the waterway permanently. This is the most important detail in the entire story. Iran did not just close the strait temporarily as a war tactic, Iran created a permanent situation to control it. That tells you what Iran's long term goal is, not to reopen the strait freely, but to establish permanent Iranian sovereignty over the world's most important oil highway. What negotiating on fumes actually means. Trump used the phrase negotiating on fumes in a cabinet meeting to describe Iran's negotiating position. Let me tell you exactly what that means economically. Iran's economy before the war was already under severe US sanctions. Oil exports were heavily restricted, the currency was weak, inflation was high. Since February 28, the situation has been catastrophic. Iran cannot export oil through the strait it controls because the US blockade of Iranian ports was in effect from April 13 to May 29. Iran's oil revenues, which fund roughly 40% of the government budget, have collapsed. Iran's trading partners have been pressured by US country sanctions. Any company doing business with Iran risks being cut off from the US financial system. The knock on effect have been severe. The Congressional Research Service confirmed that US and Iranian forces have traded fire repeatedly. Iran launched missiles at Kuwait and Bahrain. Iran attacked Gulf states hosting US military bases. Every escalation cost Iran militarily and economically. So, when Trump says Iran is negotiating on fumes, he means Iran is running out of economic runway. The pressure to sign a deal is immense inside Iran. But here is why Iran has not signed. Iran's negotiating position is actually quite clear. Settle the strait first, no tolls, ship flows, war ends, nuclear programs gets discussed separately over the next 60 days. Iran will not agree to pre-commit on nuclear issues before the deal is even signed. And here is the strategic deeper reason. Iran's nuclear program is its ultimate deterrent. If Iran gives up nuclear leverage before getting security guarantees, It believes it becomes vulnerable to regime change operations. So Iran keeps the nuclear card as the last thing it negotiates, not the gap between Trump's demands and Iran's front line is real, and it is why 3 months into war, the deal is not signed. Trump edited the deal. What changed? Last week, CBS News reported something very significant. A source with knowledge of the negotiations said Trump personally made somewhat significant changes to the US Iran Memorandum of Understanding. The edits focused on two specific sections: the Strait of Hormuz and the removal of highly enriched uranium. On the Strait, Trump strengthened the language around the control passes. The original draft gave Iran more ambiguous language around maritime management. Trump wants the document to explicitly state that Iran cannot expose tolls or fee on any ship. Iran disputes this. On uranium, Iran currently holds 440.9 kg of uranium enriched to 60% purity. This is a short technical step from weapons grade 90% enrichment. Trump's edited version requires Iran to address what happens to this uranium during the 60-day negotiation period. Iran says nuclear issues are for the 60-day talks, not a precondition for signing. These edits are why the deal has not been signed, even though negotiators said it was ready 2 weeks ago. Trump is trying to lock maximum concessions before signing. Iran is trying to preserve maximum flexibility for the 60-day negotiation period. Both are playing hardball with the biggest geopolitical deal of 2026. What happens to market in each scenario? Let me give you the exact market scenarios for this week. Scenario 1: Trump signs the MOU this week. Oil drops 15 to 20% in the first 48 hours. Brent from around 95 towards 75 to $80. Stock markets rally globally. Gold drops initially, then recovers as rate cut expectations return. The Fed gets room to cut rates by Q3. Mortgage rate starts falling. Consumer spending recovers. Scenario 2: talk continues but no deal this week. Oil stays in the $90 to $100 range, volatile. Every headline move at 3 to 5%. Markets stay nervous. The Fed stays on hold. Inflation stays elevated. Scenario 3: deal collapses completely. Iran closes the strait fully again and opens the Bab al Mandab front as threatened. Oil spikes to $115 to $120. Stock falls sharply. Gold surges toward $5,000. The Fed faces a genuine rate hike environment. Recession risk spikes significantly. Right now, the market is pricing scenario 2 as most likely. The strait is partially open in two lanes. Some oil is moving, some is not. The world is in a half open, half closed state. Keep oil around $95 and keep everyone uncertain. The key signal to watch is not what Trump tweets or what Iran's foreign ministry says. Watch the number of ships transiting the strait daily. When that number constantly exceeds 30 tankers per day, the deal is becoming real. When it falls below 10, escalations is coming. Why Iran is actually winning this negotiation? I want to end with this most honest analysis of this situation. When the US started this war on February 28, the stated objectives were four things: destroy Iran's ballistic missiles capabilities, dismantle its navy, sever support for armored proxies like Hezbollah and Hamas, and ensure Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. 3 months later, here is what the deal on table actually delivers: a 60-day ceasefire extension, the strait reopens, Iran can sell oil, nuclear talks begin. That is it. None of four original objectives have been achieved. Iran's missile program is still intact. Its navy is still operating. Hezbollah is still fighting in Lebanon, and Iran's nuclear program is going into 60-day negotiation, not dismantlement. Georgie Brew of Eurasia Group said it best: this is an overall victory for Iran, which is endured over a month of bombing, closed the strait, kept it closed, and only agreed to open it via negotiated settlement with the United States. Trump gets one win, the strait reopens with no tolls. He can claim that as a victory, and it is a real win for oil markets and the inflation. But the deeper strategic picture is more complex. The world just saw that closing the strait works as leverage. Every future adversary of the US has take note. The deal is closed, but Iran is still negotiating for everything it can extract before signing. When Trump says Iran is negotiating on fumes, he is right economically. Iran's economy cannot sustain this much longer, but Iran is also right strategically. Every day it holds out, it extracts better terms. Watch the ship count in the strait this week. Watch whether Trump makes a public statement, especially attacking Iran's nuclear position or Lebanon's operation. Those are the signals that tell you whether the deal is 48 hours away or 2 weeks away. Subscribe to Violets. This is why I started this channel, just to analyze what markets are doing.